So you've decided that you want to start selling marketing funnels and you want to set up a marketing funnel agency, and you've gone through a load of my videos and you think, yeah, this is what I want to do. Now what? In this video, I want to share with you the immediate next steps that you need to take if you want to start selling marketing funnels and setting up a marketing funnel agency. We're going to go for a walk with Coco here, and I'm going to take you through some basic steps on some of the things that you need to do right now if you want to start selling marketing funnels. So if you're anything like me, you kind of get excited by the concept of marketing funnels, and even you think, well, this is what I want to do outside of just building websites. Or you might think, I understand now how the website affects the overall marketing journey, and I want to start selling this to customers. Like, what do I do now? It's all really good and well, Mike, having all these sales tips and things on like closing and how you should write proposals. But immediately, right now, what should you do in order to start this process of selling marketing funnels? And to me, the number one thing you need to start doing is you need to sell and find some customers. Let's talk about the first thing you need to start doing. And most people, I believe, when they decide that they want to start selling something and they think, I want to start selling marketing funnels, you know, I want to call myself a marketing funnel agency, I want to be a funnel builder, the first thing I need is obviously a website, and I need to start building out all of my website and make it look, you know, fancy and have all the content, have all the social media pages, get my Twitter account set up. And I believe that that's fundamentally not true. And instead, what you should be doing is going out to people, asking for referrals. The immediate assumption, because we maybe work in that industry, or because we, you know, see that that's what other people do, or maybe because we even tell that that's customers what they need, is to think, right, I need a rebrand, I need to change my business name, I need to register a new company name, check out a new domain, think of a clever name like, you know, Funnelific or any of that kind of shit. And we immediately start thinking about the ways that we believe traditional marketing might work in order to get out there and find some customers. As soon as you want to start a business or selling a product, the immediate thing you need is not leads. As contrary as popular belief as that sounds, what you need is validation. And the fastest way to get validation is to sell it to someone. And the easiest way to sell a product to someone is via a referral. So if you've decided that you want to start selling marketing funnels and that this seems to make sense to you, what you need is validation. And the easiest way to get validation without spending a load of money on ads or going to networking events or any of that kind of shit is going out to your current network. Even if you don't think you know anyone, this is the first step that you need to take, because it's validation. It's really easy to start building a website and start going into the kind of intricacies of what a marketing plan would look like, and have a Facebook page and your Instagram and any of that kind of shit, doing logo design or any of that kind of rubbish, because that's a type of procrastination. So that's ABS, right? Anything but sales. It's basically a sales avoidance process that a lot of businesses use to make themselves look busy without actually going after what matters and proving that their business makes sense and that people are out there wanting to buy. I know why we build websites and stuff, of course, because we kind of think that that's a really good way of getting out there. But the reality is, a website is a marketing tool, and all marketing tools are designed to accelerate the results that you're already getting. So instead, what we want to start focusing on is how we can start generating sales and validating that idea. It can be really scary to put an idea out there and have a bunch of people say, no, I don't want to buy that, that sounds like shit. But it's better off finding out now rather than trying to do it after you've created a load of sales collateral and content and realize that now this is not a product worth selling. There's nothing worse than building something and trying to sell it and realizing that no one wants to buy it. First thing you need to do is write out who you work with. No one cares what you do, they only care about who you work with, and they care about what you do when they understand how much it benefits them. So don't tell people that you build marketing funnels, but instead write out the phrase, I work with people who, or I work with people like ... If you need some help with that, I've got some other videos talking about your niche and who you work with. But the first thing you need to understand is you need to go out to market and test your idea, telling people who you work with. For example, I work with funnel builders, I work with businesses who build marketing funnels, I work with marketing agencies. If you work with pet stores, if you work with dog owners, if you work with YouTube content creators, that's what you need to write out first. So first things first, write out who you work with. So I know how tempting it is to focus on things like a website, And as I mentioned, that's really just sales avoidance. It's very scary going to market and thinking, well, I could produce this product or service and it might turn out that no one wants it. But the reality is it's better to find that out now than after spending a ton of money. So after writing out who you work with, the next most immediate step is for you to reach out to your network and start telling people who you work with. I really, really do understand how scary that can be, but I promise you that that's the fastest way for you to start talking to the right potential customers, prospects, leads, and interested parties. So what I want you to do is to take your statement saying, I work with, and it says, I work with independent t-shirt manufacturers, I work with dog walkers, I work with Fortune 500 companies with at least 5 people at the C-level, and you need to start pushing that out to your network either via Facebook, LinkedIn, email, texting, WhatsApp, whatever it is. And if you start telling people who you work with, referrals will start coming a lot quicker. The goal is to find people who are willing to have a conversation with you, even if you're still a bit unsure on what it is that you're delivering, like you haven't mapped out your process or you haven't done your product story. And remember, we've got the Funnel Business Game Plan, which is the entire program designed to help you kind of get over this hump. But immediately you want to start having conversations with people that you want to work with. So if you say, look, I work with C-level directors who run like a Northwest region product, right? And that's who you work with. If you put that out into Facebook or LinkedIn and start reaching out to people or email or Twitter or whatever and say, hey, I work with people at a C-level to help them and then whatever transformation they want. People don't wake up wanting marketing funnels. As excited as you are to build and sell them, people aren't excited to buy them. So instead, you need to start thinking about the transformation that you're going to take them on. I work with C-level directors who want to exit their company within 3 years. That's who you work with. That's the transformation they want to go on. And if you can start getting people saying, hey, I know someone, that's me, that's my uncle, that's someone I work with, you should have a conversation with them. Those are the types of calls you want to start having, and you want to start doing research and talking to them about, hey, if you want to start selling, if you want to exit your business or exit your position within 3 years, I've got a solution that can help you with that. I want to take you through and show you that solution. Hey funnel builders, in this video I want to talk about 5 mistakes funnel builders like you make when pitching. In fact, it's 5 mistakes that all people make when pitching products and services. This is how to pitch live to a customer face-to-face or over video if you're doing it via a Skype presentation or a Zoom call. I want you to pitch without the hard sell, as well as close deals easier and get paid faster. So tell me if this sounds familiar. Let me know in the comments below. You send the proposal and then maybe someone asks you to talk through it, or they just say, look, come on in and talk us through the proposal. Or maybe you're in a position where you need to sit down with the customer face to face and pitch to them your idea or your project or your proposal. You agree to talk through it, and then after the deal closes, you ask, does anyone have any questions? They ask for a hard copy of the proposal, but it always seems to take ages to get paid. They're constantly saying, yeah, someone else needs to read the proposal, someone else needs to check this out, we'll get around to it next week, we'll get around to it next month, it's not the right time. And it just takes ages to get paid, even if they agree to do the project. Maybe you also feel awkward during a pitch. Maybe that's your idea of hell, standing in front of someone and talking them through an idea because you think, well, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at pitching, I'm not naturally very good at this. I've got news for you, no one is good at it. Even the people who consider themselves good at sales aren't quite as good as they might think they are. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when pitching is at the end of the pitch, after they give the price and the time scale, they'll then say, so does anyone have any questions? And they'll leave this incredibly broad, open-ended question because they think the customer wants to be able to ask them questions. There's also a misconception that people don't like to be pressured. Now, pressure is not the hard sell. As someone who sold Sky TV door-to-door and insurance door-to-door and has sold insurance packages for car rentals and has sold car rentals and selling software and telco services, I can assure you that pressure is not the hard sell. Customers do like pressure because it explains to them why this is important and why they should be doing something now. So the first thing you need to do is finish everything with a close. Finish questions with a close, finish objections with a close, finish the pitch with a close. Tell them what they need to do. Now, there's loads of different closes out there. I don't want to get too complicated, but the easiest one in the world is after you deliver the final sentence in your pitch, don't turn around to them and say, so does anyone have any questions? Instead, you tell them what they need to do next and that you can get started today. So you come to the end and you go, thanks very much for listening. You can get started today. All we need is a deposit and a signature. You can get started today. All we need is your signature here and we can take your card payment. All we need is the first month paid upfront, sign the contract, and we can get started today. If you're serious about starting this today, we just require the first month's deposit or 50% deposit, sign the contract, and we can get started today. That's what you need to say. You're closing it and you're making sure that they are hyper aware that the only thing they need to do next is hand over some money, sign the contract, and you're ready to go. You're telling them that you can start today. When you get your leg fixed by the doctor, they don't go through the whole spiel of everything they're going to do and they say, with a broken leg, oh, we're going to put a cast on, we're going to have to set the bone, anesthetics, maybe some plates, blah, blah, blah. They then don't go, so yeah, we'll let you know. You go, no, I want to do it now, today. I'm in pain now and I need this fixed now. I need you to do the first thing now. I need you to start today. So make sure that whenever anyone asks you a question, they go, can you take us through the proposal again? Can you take us through the pricing? How long will this take? What's your experience? You answer the question, you turn the objection, whatever it is, and then you finish and we can get started today. We just require a deposit and a signature. So what you're doing is you're making sure that you're closing all the time. And some people call this ABC, always be closing. Just be careful with how you use that, because I think some people use it in the wrong term and they start closing when they're still in the selling stage. But make sure that the customer knows that they need to sign the contract and send the deposit. Which leads us on to the second point. Tell them what they need to do next. Tell them what it is that they need to do. Tell them they need to sign the contract. Tell them they need to click the accept button. Tell them that they need to send over 50% of the deposit. They are looking to you as the expert for what they need to do next. They don't know. This might be the first ever time they've worked with a marketing professional. They've got no idea on what it is they need to do next. So you need to keep telling them and keep reminding them physically what it is they need to do next. Mistake number 3 is telling people who you are. The biggest and most fundamental flaw I see in so many pitches and presentations is when people explain who they are and their background and their CV, and they'll talk about all their accolades and shit right up the front. Let me make this perfectly clear. I don't care about you one bit until you explain to me how much you care about my business. There is a point and a place to explain who you are. In the book Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, he talks through when is the appropriate time to tell people who you are. But until you've outlined the framework and the problem and you've set the story and you're telling them what it is that you can do, just before you get to the solution stage, that's when you explain who you are. You're setting the world up and you're saying, this is the environment, this is you, this is where you are now, these are the problems you're facing, these are the threats and opportunities coming your way. I want to talk to you about the solution. Just before we jump into that, my name's Mike Killen. I help businesses like yours secure 6-figure funnel deals. In the meantime, let's get into the solution. You don't need to spend too much time on it. I mentioned this already. Point number 4, don't ask if they've got any questions. They will have questions and they will ask them. Your job is to close people and turn objections. When you're giving a presentation, people are automatically assuming that they're going to ask questions. Your job is to say, we can get started today. If you're serious about fixing this problem, if you're serious about fixing this broken leg, if you're serious about generating revenue for your customers, if you're serious about launching this product to your marketplace, we can get started today. And they go, well, can you take me through, who else have you done this for? Or can you just explain to me the consultation process again? Yeah, absolutely. It's a 5-week program. We spend, a couple of hours a day with your team and your guys, and we can get started today with a deposit and a signature. And finally, number 5, this is something I love to do at the end of the proposal stage, is before closing on them, I ask them a question. So I'll reach the timescales and I'll go, and it'll take about 4 weeks and then another 4 months to start the program. I've just got one question before we kind of wrap this up. What type of customer are you to work with? What you do is you flip the framework to say to them, I actually don't need this work and I want to be selective with my clients. What type of customer are you to work with? Or ask them, what do you like to work with, just before we wrap this up? And what they'll do is they'll start explaining to themselves and to you why they're a good customer, and they start selling themselves on the project. They start trying to close you because you're the one who now looks like you're trying to get away. In actual fact, it makes a lot of sense, because a lot of businesses will say, yeah, we're pretty chilled out. I think we're easy to work with. And you stay completely silent. It's like the budget question in like the qualification stage. You stay totally silent and they'll go, maybe I panic a bit and I'm a bit of a micromanager and, Maybe Sarah's a little bit obsessive about the numbers, but yeah, I think overall, you know, we have a good working relationship with our suppliers. That's what you want. You want them to qualify themselves to you. And you say, fantastic. Thank you so much for answering that. What we can do is we can get started today. We just require a deposit and a signature. They'll ask a question, you answer it, and then close. They'll have an objection, you turn the objection, then close. But those are the 5 things that you need to do in your pitches and the mistakes that you should stop making. What if you could charge more for 3 website pages than you've ever charged before for an entire website? In this video, I want to talk to you about how to sell a landing page package to your customer, what to include for a $5,000 price tag, and what to do if a customer tells you it's a lot of money. If you've ever wanted to build landing pages but you're unsure on how to sell them, you need to keep watching this video. Let's talk about how to sell landing pages to your customers. So landing pages are a part of the marketing funnel process. The problem is that we see them as quite easy to build and therefore not worth that much. I think that's been commoditized with a lot of page builder packages and a lot of landing page packages that are available because we see them as quite easy to build and we understand the concept of them. And realistically, a landing page package could just be like, it could be 1 page, but we want to talk about selling a 3-page package, and I'll show you what it is that we actually sell. We think because it's easy and we can do it, therefore it's not very valuable because we massively undervalue and underestimate what we're capable of doing as well as what we, bring to the marketplace. I want you to flip that and imagine that you could build a website that just had a huge big red button right in the middle of it. And every time someone landed on that page, there was a 50-50 chance that they would click it, and if they clicked it, they'd buy something. And as the owner of the website, you would be given $100. Now, if that existed, would you think, well, that's a very simplistic view and it's pretty easy to buy? And when I say 50-50 chance, I mean like it had a conversion rate of 50%. So if you attracted 100 visitors to the website and 50 of them bought, every single time one of them bought, you were given $100. Would you care about how easy it was? Would you care about how simple it was? Would you care about how complex it was? Of course you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't worry about any of that at all. Well, all you'd worry about is driving more traffic to that. The value is not in what is done or how to build it. The value is in the result that it gets for the customer. There's a misconception that customers won't pay, or maybe you wrongly believe that a customer won't pay $5,000 for a landing page package, and that is absolutely not true. They'll happily pay that. We've charged more than that. We've charged 25 grand for a landing page package that's exactly the same as the one down below, but I want to show you where we started and how I sold a $5,000 landing page package. So we're going to look at 3 benefits. I want to look about what's included as well as a pretty typical close that when a customer says that's quite expensive and how to turn that. The first benefit is we're going to help you increase the number of qualified leads in your database. I want you to think about saying that to a customer when you have a conversation with them next. They say, oh man, business this, business that, things are really, difficult. We need to make a lot more money and customers aren't this and whatever. And they start moaning. You go, what if we could increase the number of qualified leads in your database? And I guarantee their ears will prick up like little dogs. They'll go, huh? And they'll think, that sounds amazing. So what we want to say to a customer is the benefit is we increase the number of qualified leads in your database. In the future, after working with us, you could increase or have more qualified leads in your database. How does that sound? Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Great. Benefit number 2, we're going to help you reduce the cost per lead and the cost of acquisition and potentially the cost per click. So a landing page, pretty simple. We're even just talking about a basic opt-in page, like a squeeze page, a really high quality landing page that gets traffic to opt into and sign up and, give them their email address, right? So this is not a sales page. This is a squeeze page or an opt-in page. When done well, and when put in front of the right audience, the cost per lead goes down, because rather than having to manually go out and cold call and speak to 100 people and only one of them is interested, so that's 1 qualified lead, every person that we put it out to, maybe it's 5 people or maybe it's 20 people. You have a 20% conversion rate or a 12% conversion rate. You're increasing the number of people that opt in, and therefore you're reducing your cost per lead if you were to spend the same amount. What's really interesting is that landing pages and squeeze pages, when used with remarketing, mean that your cost per acquisition for customer is lower than ever, which is to say that if you spent 50 cents acquiring a lead through, typical ways of just sending them to an opt-in page or a landing page or a sales page or whatever. Instead, if we use remarketing to send people who have already visited the site, so warm traffic, to a squeeze page, the cost per click and the cost per acquisition is actually typically lower, So you can actually reduce someone's immediate advertising costs really quickly, as well as increase the number of people who actually sign up. The third benefit is, hey, Mr. Customer, I want to help you reduce the amount of time you spend selling to customers manually and nurturing customers. So the way that this would work is we're able to reduce the amount of time that you spend selling to customers, because everyone who opts in, we're then going to build out a process whereby, we can nurture them. But also because we're giving them something in return, typically a lead magnet, we're nurturing them through that process. If you're an authority and you have content that is free, is given away, and helps people and positions you as valuable within your marketplace, then obviously they're going to be more likely to buy. You reduce the amount of time and effort it takes to sell to them, because they are basically selling to themselves as they read your content. But also afterwards, you could create a nurture campaign via an email sequence that automatically nurtures anyone who signs up and then transitions them into a sale. What was included in our package was the design of the landing page using their site, or sometimes we had like a subdomain if we just had like go.customerdomain.com. So we design the landing page, we do a thank you page which would redirect signups to the thank you page, and we'd also have a connection to a CRM, so we'd pass that data over to their CRM, as well as having landing page copy that we'd help them with, and we would upload content to a delivery page and do a bit of design of the delivery page, and we'd also write and set up the delivery email. Depending on the autoresponder or the CRM system that your customer has, that might be an opportunity for you to upsell them to another package, as well as say, well, would you like a nurturing package? Would you like nurturing emails and sales emails and remarketing campaigns? This is a really good product to sell one-off and then move into other areas. So let's say the customer goes, well, I don't know, $5,000, that's pretty expensive for 3 pages. You go, I totally agree. So first of all, remember, you're selling the benefits. Okay, so you're talking with the customer, they'll say, we really want to grow our business. Great. What if I could increase the number of qualified leads in your database? Yeah, that sounds good. What if I could reduce your cost per lead and your cost per acquisition and your cost per click? Yeah, that also sounds pretty good. What if I could reduce the time spent selling to customers that you spend doing manually, as well as nurture them on autopilot? Does that sound good? Yes, please. Great. We have a $5,000 landing page package. Sign here. What's included? Well, it's about 3 pages that we'll design, create the copy, and upload the content for. We'll connect it to your CRM database. And that's when they go, I don't know, $5,000 is quite expensive. They might not. They might go, that sounds great. Sign us up. If you say this $5,000 is expensive, most funnel builders will try and flip that and go, no, it's not expensive at all. It's really complex. We're the only ones who can do it. And you don't. You agree with them. You go, I totally agree. It is expensive. I mean, what isn't expensive nowadays, right? Take your time, for example. And how much time do you cost your business per hour? And as the CEO or the owner, they're going to go, I don't know, $100 an hour. You go, great. So 50 hours of your time is worth investing in this product, because we're going to give you back all the time that you spend selling. So let's say that you're $100 per hour. Now, hopefully they're a lot higher. The higher the amount, and you can also do some clever maths to kind of say, well, how much do you really think you are? And try to bump them up to like $250, $500, even $1,000 per hour. And you say, as soon as they're worth that much, how much time do you spend manually selling, talking to customers, and nurturing customers? And they say, oh, I don't know, 3-4 hours a week, 3 or 4 hours a week, and we'll lowball it at $100, so $400 a week. Okay, so that's $2,000 per month. So in 2.5 months, this would have paid for itself, and we'll take all of that time back. This isn't about costing you $5,000. This is about saving you $5,000 and then doing it on autopilot. Sign here. We can get started today. How does that sound? And they go, okay, sounds great, and they sign there. Do you want to make money selling marketing automation to your customers? How do you price marketing automation, and how do you convince customers to buy marketing automation from you? In this video, I want to talk about how to sell marketing automation to your customers, what customers want to see, and when they spend money with you on marketing automation, and why customers are going to want to spend money with you as opposed to your competitors. Let's talk about how to sell marketing automation to your customers. Marketing automation is very broad, and there's a big problem with just selling the concept of automation. It's like selling the concept of sales or marketing. It's too broad for customers really to be able to understand. And customers might find it very difficult to understand what the benefits are and how it affects their business. It might be that they have the wrong perception that it's, too big for them, or that it's not suitable for them and for their market. So we have to make sure that we break it down in a way that the customer understands. Your customers don't know what automation is. They might have heard of it, they might have a few ideas, but we go through automation with some quite sophisticated customers of ours, some big companies, and they are staggered at all the stuff that we can do with automation. And it's very interesting to me that a lot of these companies don't know that this level of automation exists out there. So don't take for granted that your customers already know what marketing automation is and what the benefits are. And as marketers, sometimes we get a little bit confused about what the benefits are. Often we kind of say, oh, well, you can do split testing, or we can do dynamic customer interactions to send it when we want, or we can put up site messages on automation. It's like, well, I don't really know what any of that stuff is. I also don't know how it benefits me. Like, what's in it for me is what the customer's thinking. So don't take for granted again that your customers even understand what you're talking about when you talk about the features broken down inside automation. So how do we sell automation? Well, the biggest thing you need to remember is that automation is really designed to give people time back and increase productivity. That's the point of automation, is to take away the repetitive tasks and the processes that people are doing already. The easiest way for you to think about marketing automation is to think about, are they doing something already? Like maybe their sales guys are talking to their customers or prospects or leads, or they're nurturing them, or maybe they don't have the time to do that right now. That's where marketing automation comes into play. The easiest way for you to sell marketing automation is to say, well, how often do you write an email campaign and send it to your customers? And they'll say either we don't have the time to do that, or we do that, but it's kind of sporadic. You're going to take a process that they're doing already and you're going to automate it and take the time and stress away of that activity away from them. In terms of some of the kind of nuts and bolts of what automation gives, this is something that I would lead with, is it minimizes customer loss and churn. If you can automate the marketing process between new prospect and new lead all the way through to sale, you're actually more likely to keep them on board as a customer using marketing automation. So the approach that you could take with your customers is, if you find that you are losing customers, you've got a relatively high churn rate, and you want to reduce that, and you want to reduce the number of customers that you lose either through refunds or just quitting or leaving the program, then you need to talk to us. Don't mention marketing automation. Remember, the first rule of selling marketing funnels is don't talk about marketing funnels. Another good way to look at marketing automation is to remember who would benefit from it. Customers that have got a scalable product are way more likely to benefit from marketing automation. If we set up a marketing automation system and generate leads for a business that only can deal with like phone calls, and they have to book the orders via phone, we have very quickly found that we reach a kind of a ceiling capacity. Digital products and scalable products like courses and books, they work really, really well because we can automate it, and it doesn't matter because it's working 24 hours a day. So as soon as you understand who is more likely to benefit from marketing automation, it's easy to take on their processes and it's easy to scale out their business rather than just kind of adding to the list and the pile of things that other people have to do, like salespeople, or if they have to take orders via the phone. As I mentioned, it's really easy to automate a process that's working already. If you can find a segment within your niche, or when you're talking to your niche, say to them, what's the number one thing that you do every day? It's probably lead generation, it's prospecting, it's talking to customers, it's nurturing them, it's delivering support. Marketing automation can take over a lot of the support. And you also say to them, well, where do your marketing team spend the majority of their time? Maybe that's kind of selling to customers. Well, wouldn't it be easy if someone else kind of took over that for you and someone else was able to deliver that? How would you feel about that? That there is a massive selling point. So you're taking admin time and, away from the sales guys and making sure that they have the time to close. You're taking support time away from the support teams and allowing them to do their job better rather than answering the same questions all the time. Marketing automation is about improving efficiencies and improving productivity, and as well automating a task that's already being done rather than putting on a new task or creating a task that doesn't exist. Another good example would be after someone sends a proposal, you send a follow-up sequence, right? You chase that customer. Well, we could take over that. We could automate that chase sequence or that anti-follow-up process in order to start closing more deals. When we talk about charging for it, what you want to do is charge for time saved and money made. That's how you want to charge charge for marketing automation. It's not necessarily enough to say, well, we're going to charge you 25 grand to upload some emails to ActiveCampaign and run an automation sequence. What you're doing is you want to find out, okay, well, our top sales guys, they cost maybe $70,000 a year. We've got 3 of them in the team. It's around 21 grand. And every single day they spend 1 hour working on follow-up sequences, just follow-up. They follow up with customers who are kind of at the proposal stage and we want to nurture them and close them basically. You work out how much that costs. I've got absolutely no idea. Let's say it's a few grand. And you say to your customer, well, what if we could save you that time and money, and your sales guys can go out there and do what they do best, which is closing deals or going out and finding new prospects, and we were taking care of that follow-up process. How would that sound? Your sales guys are going to love that as well. You want to find out where people are spending money now inefficiently and find a way for them to spend it more efficiently using marketing automation. Can you imagine being completely responsible for making your customers thousands of dollars or pounds in income? What if you completely changed their business to scale their lead gen almost indefinitely? In this video, I want to talk to you about how to sell a webinar funnel for $10,000 to a customer, how to convince a customer that this will help them and is worth the investment, and how to close them if they think they've tried webinar funnels before. Let's talk about how to sell a webinar funnel to your customers. So it's very difficult to sell a webinar funnel to someone unless they know what it is, unless they've got experience in the industry or they really know the benefits. It's very difficult to sell something as complex and frankly pretty modern as a webinar funnel. They've been around for a long time, but they really haven't hit the mainstream yet. Most people know about, direct mail advertising and sending junk mail through the door, but that's taken, I don't know, 100 years to be considered pretty ubiquitous. Webinar funnels, although still incredibly powerful, incredibly popular, and in some regards overused in some niches and some markets, they're still a very powerful tool that a lot of businesses just don't use, and you can use that to your advantage. I think a lot of the time we think that customers are going to want to do this themselves. Again, it's that kind of not valuing enough what we do because we find it easy and we do it, so therefore wouldn't anyone else just be able to do it and think that they can do it? And the truth is they can't. First of all, they don't have the expertise. They don't have the expertise that you have to help them build a webinar funnel, make it evergreen, and use it to attract leads and convert them into customers. But also, they really don't have the time. Building a webinar funnel from scratch is pretty intensive, and they just don't have the time to do it themselves, combined with the fact that they don't really know what they're doing, but you do. So you can use that to your advantage, but that's not what you sell. As we say, the first rule of selling marketing funnels is don't talk about marketing funnels. So let's talk about the 3 benefits that we can give your customers through delivering a marketing funnel to them. First of all, and this is huge, right? A lot of businesses, particularly larger businesses, if you're able to say this benefit to them, they'll probably buy on the spot. What if you could deliver a perfect pitch every single time to your customers, have it completely consistent and standardized across every single sale? A lot of them will jump at the chance to have that. The ability for them to have the same pitch and the same sale said to every single customer, no matter what, is a massively important and powerful proposition. And that's what webinar funnels allow you to do. They allow you to standardize that sales process and deliver the exact same pitch to every single customer. And when they are on a captive audience like a webinar, it's much easier to deliver standardized content to that prospect or lead and have them convert into a sale. It also means that you can improve it over time because you know that everyone's getting the same pitch. The second benefit, what if we could massively scale your lead generation and convert more leads into sales on autopilot? This is a pretty big one. Again, it's pretty broad. It's interesting. A few people have said, Mike, a lot of these benefits sound the same across all the different products. And the truth is there isn't a huge amount of difference between what you can do and a lot of other businesses. They want more health, more wealth, more free time or more freedom, better relationships, a better status or kind of, staying at the same status, or more time to spend on their hobbies, or kind of more things to spend on their hobbies. So when we talk about benefits, we have to get specific with that particular customer. And this is a really good one as an example. What if we could massively scale your lead generation and convert leads into sales on autopilot? Not many businesses would want to turn that down. But when we specify that and we say, let's say we're selling this to an online education program, we say, what if we could massively scale your lead generation for students and convert more leads into students on autopilot? How does that sound? They go, yeah, that sounds great. We can take it another level deeper. What if we could massively scale your lead generation for new students and convert more prospects into new students on autopilot, leaving you with the free time time to teach instead of sell. How does that sound? Yeah, that sounds great. Fantastic. Sign here. Let's go ahead. The benefit is not like, you don't have to be clever with it. You just have to be specific. What people want is specificity spoken to them, which kind of brings us on to the third benefit. I mentioned it a little bit there. What if you could spend less time selling and more time working with customers? Or what if you could spend less time selling and more time at home with the family? Webinar funnels allow you to remove yourself from the sales process and allow people to sell and generate income on autopilot. Especially if it's working well, it can really change how the majority of salespeople or business owners' days are spent, because they're no longer having to manually sell to customers, and instead they can start doing the things they love, like spending time with family, going surfing, spending time working with customers, building relationships, building products, teaching, whatever it is. So that's the third benefit. Spend less time selling and more time working with customers. And here's what I would include. So first of all, similar to the landing page, is I would build the sign up page itself, connect it to the CRM system so that it passes through the tags and all the right lists and details, redirect people to a thank you page with all the copy. We help them with the copy, we help them with the thank you page. We won't record the video for them, they'll have to do that, but if they want some help recording the video, of course we're available. It just requires a little bit more investment. As well as the landing page copy, we will help them create that landing page copy. And again, we tend to create a couple of landing pages so that we can kind of not test it necessarily, but just have a couple of different landing pages per webinar. We also, for 10 grand, help people with the webinar itself. So we'll just help people running the first webinar or recording the first webinar, as well as a few of the slides. You could charge a lot more if you want to go in more in depth than that, and a few emails like reminder emails and sequences. This can be both a live webinar, so you could do it as a live webinar, record it, and then put it out as a evergreen webinar as well. That's the kind of thing that you want to include. You don't want to go too nuts. It's a few pages, it's a few emails, and it's helping the customer record their first webinar. We did this with a telco company, and that's how they hired us and took us on board for some much larger projects, because we helped their sales guys sell consistently, repeatedly, and on autopilot, which meant that they got to spend more time with current customers rather than converting new customers. And on that note, one of the kind of closes or objections that one of our customers had was, yeah, we've tried webinars before and they don't really work out. So first of all, we agree with them. You say, Mr. Customer, I totally agree. We've seen a lot of businesses try webinars before, and yeah, they failed miserably. They failed very expensively as well. But what we found is that the audience and the product tend not to be wrong, but it's the message between them. If we worked on that message with you and helped improve the conversion rate, would you be willing to go ahead and sign today? And go, yeah, actually that sounds fair. The audience isn't wrong because they know their customers. The product isn't wrong because obviously it's their product. It typically is the message on the webinar, and that's what you can help them with. And then you say, sign here and we can get started today. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to sell SEO for absolute beginners. It's going to be my complete beginner's guide to selling SEO services to your customers. Or if you're already selling SEO and you want to learn how to improve your sales process for your current products, then you should continue watching as well. If you are an absolute beginner and maybe you're wanting to start an agency, that's what we're going to talk about, is how to sell SEO services that I learned the hard way. SEO is very competitive, and the goal of this video is to really help you stand out in an extremely competitive market. I know that customers have a habit of trying to beat you down on pricing, so I want to try and avoid that by talking about how we can find customers that not only value what you do, but also value search engine optimization to an extent. And I also want to make sure that you stand out enough in the crowd so that you don't have to deal with like competitors undercutting you. SEO, I think, is a weird blend of people think they know what it is and customers think they know what they're buying. We'll probably go over a little bit about this triangle behind me, but if you want to stand out from the crowd, even if you're starting from scratch, or if you've been doing this a while, you want to stand out from the crowd and start attracting new leads and customers to your SEO business, that's what we're going to be talking about, especially focusing on rising above the sheer number of new competitors entering the marketplace. And typically, the more people who enter a marketplace, the lower the prices go. And I want to make sure that we stand out enough so that we can keep our prices nice and high and profitable. So let's cover off a few SEO sales myths. The first thing is that your customers don't need traffic. It's a really common misconception that the only benefit that SEO brings is traffic to a website. And while the main result does tend to be larger volumes of traffic, I can assure you that if you just focused on traffic and gave your customers just tons more traffic to a particular page or to their blog or whatever, and it doesn't increase the number of leads they generate, the number of conversions they get, the number of sales they get or whatever, they're not going to be happy with just higher amounts of traffic. So we need to dig a little deeper into your customers' ecosystems and frameworks and understand, well, why do they think traffic is a problem? A lot of businesses think that traffic is this fix-all solution, and that's not the case. Which leads me on to my second point. You need to stop selling SEO. SEO is so broad, as we're going to talk about in a bit. It's so varied. There's so much included in the practice of SEO that it's not enough for you to just say we sell SEO or we are SEO specialists. That's not a specialist saying you're an SEO specialist. You need to niche down and discover what it is that you are selling to the market and to your customers that no one else can offer, or at least do in a way that is very difficult for people to displace. We'll talk about like how we can come up with those examples, but if you call yourself a search engine optimization specialist, you're not really much of a specialist of anything. That's still incredibly broad. You also need to stop working with customers who say, I just want to buy SEO, because those types of customers treat search engine optimization like a commodity, and they're like, yeah, I just want 3 hours of SEO. I just want a week's worth of SEO. I want 6 months of SEO. And it doesn't work like that. It's not a 6-month process. It's not a sprint process. There's a lot of different things that you could do in order to package up or systemize the different kind of SEO outcomes that you're going to be providing to your customers. And finally, number 3, you need to move away from selling to local businesses. I don't know why SEO seems to have this obsession with only working with local businesses. There are so many different markets and industries and business types that benefit from search engine optimization. Local SEO is a really, really small, tiny, almost insignificant part of the overall SEO pie that you could have. We're going to talk a little bit about the types of niches that you can go after, but working just with local businesses is, frankly, I think it's dangerous, because all it takes is for someone else to come in, disrupt that market, and take away all your customers. A quick side note, when I first started a digital marketing agency, there was one company servicing pretty much the local area, and they were furious that I started up an agency. I didn't start it up to piss them off. I didn't even know they existed. That's the weird thing. I looked around for competitors and couldn't find anyone, and thought, well, I'm going to do this as well. It got to the point where they were like sending threats, and they would turn up to like networking events and like try to like have a go at me and disrupt me, all because I was just doing a good job. This is the funny thing. I didn't even undercharge them. In fact, I was way more expensive than them. In some cases, I was 10 times more expensive than them, and I wasn't even trying to take their customers. I just really understood the market that I was going after. I really understood the problems, and I knew that I cared enough about the solution to deliver it with me and my team. So going after a local market and say we just do SEO for local markets, in my opinion, is massively restrictive, and it's very dangerous, and it can be easily taken away. If you're watching this now thinking, well, I've sold SEO to local businesses for years and it seems fine, great. If it's working out, then fine. But this video is to help with beginners who want to understand how to start selling SEO to a wider market. And local business is not your niche. It's an industry, and it's not a very well defined industry as well. Cool. So let's move over to the whiteboard. This here is this kind of core triangle of like the beginning of your sales process, and the more I've used this, the more important I found it, especially when you're like, I want to sell SEO, or I want to make money selling search engine optimization. This is where you really need to think about starting. So we've got the core niche, the core question, and the core function. These are 3 areas that you need to focus in on if you want to be successful and to make money, especially during the sales process. I'm going to make the assumption that you're not starting out with like a 400-person team or a 200-person team or even a 10-person team, I'm going to presume you're either starting out by yourself or in a very small micro team. And even if you are starting with like 30 members of staff, you still need to have these 3 specific areas. My book, 5-Figure Funnels, will help you kind of with the follow-on process, but if this is the absolute beginner's model for selling SEO services, these are the 3 things you need to focus on. So first of all, we need a niche. This is essentially the market that you're going to attract. Now, your market is like that. Your niche kind of sits down here. It's like a subsection of the market. Another way of showing this that I've used is if we have this big long top bar here, we have the market up here. Let's say that you want to work specifically with authors, and we'll talk a bit more about this. You want to work with authors. The next thing that you'll need to look at is the specific characteristics and problems they've got, or actually just the characteristics. And then we look at problems and goals, and then we have you. So these are problems, and then this is you. That's your niche. Can you see this is all authors, and then we're only going to work with authors of a certain characteristic, and then we're going to only work with people who've got a certain problem or want a certain result, and then this is you, your method down at the bottom here. What this is going to do is provide you a statement, something along the lines of, we motivate authors to rank their best-selling books within 24 hours, or we motivate new authors to rank their blog articles to help sell more books. Something along those lines. We're going to figure out that. You need a niche to start with. If you want to sell anything, you need a niche. If you want me or someone like me to tell you where to find more clients, you categorically need to have a niche. The next thing you need to be able to answer is, what is their core question? What's the number one thing that they are asking day in, day out? No one wakes up thinking, oh my God, I need a search engine specialist. What they're doing is waking up thinking, I really hope that my next book launch isn't a failure. I really hope that I'm able to outsell the number of books that I generate. I'd love to move away from Amazon and start selling books from my own website. How do I do that? How do I cash in on merchandising? How do I, and this is all stuff that SEO can answer. How do I get my other media out there? There's a lot of authors who have also got a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog, and they don't know how to get that other content out there. How do they do that? So they have a core question that they're repeatedly asking all the time. It might change and evolve over time. That's fine. By that point, you'll have developed enough of a relationship with that customer to be able to help them out further, or you will simply just work with new customers who have got this core question. You can't be everything to everyone. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And you've got to really make sure that you're focused on what that core question is, because there might even be people within this niche who have got this question, and there might be some who have a different question. At the moment, our number one question at Sell Your Service is, how do we acquire as much audience as possible? How do we acquire as big an audience as possible? That's the number one question we're asking. Some people might not know that they have a core question, but they do have a core question. It's the thing they're constantly asking. Your core question, presumably, if you're watching this, is something like, how do I sell more services? How do I find more clients? How do I find more leads? Something along those lines. So we need to be able to answer this customer's core question, or at least know what it is. And the last part here, this is a bit trickier. This is the core function. So this is what you do. This is what you're going to do day in, day out, repeatedly. Ultimately, this core function is how you're going to serve the niche and answer the question. You might say, well, it's SEO services. I want you to get more specific than that. If, for example, we decide that our broadest possible market is construction companies, all right? And I'd say a good one, actually, architects, right? Architects, I think, suit SEO really well because they don't have a lot of repeat business, and you could really change an architect's business if you help them rank and search. There's a ton of different ways, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Let's say you want to work with architects. Their characteristics are that they have to be regularly producing video content. Okay, they have to be producing video content with their on their blog or for their proposals or whatever it is. You need them to produce video content for your particular process. If you don't have a process in mind, I want you to think about, well, what would that customer need to have already in order to make my job easier? Do they need to have a website? Maybe they don't. Maybe you think, well, actually, the easiest way for me to do this is that they don't have a website. Maybe they already have at least 100 pages of content or 50 pages of content. Maybe you're thinking they need to have at least a budget of 10 grand or 25 grand or £1,000 a month or something like that. You need to think about the characteristics that that particular market has in order for you to work with them. Then I want you to think about, well, what are their biggest problems, or what is the result that they want? And ultimately, architects want to win more bids, basically. That's what they want to do. The biggest problem is they don't have any recurring revenue. So they want to find more customers consistently. And then your particular solution and problem is actually kind of a mixture of these other areas. So don't worry too much about that. So a niche is a problem solved or a result gotten for a particular group of people with certain characteristics that no one else wants to serve. Sounds like a mouthful. It's very simple. It's a problem solved or a result gotten for a group of people with certain characteristics that no one else wants to serve. And that's where you come in. So you need to have that to start with, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, but I want you to understand the highest level overview of how to sell SEO. This is going to be very different from a lot of other SEO videos that say, have your website, do your pricing, call it a nice name. Fuck all of that. Don't worry about any of that, right? You need to have a niche. You need to go after a specific niche. Another area might be you want to work specifically with people who sell digital products. Maybe they don't sell their own digital products, like affiliate marketing is a big one. And they need to have at least one successful website already. And what you do is you help replicate a successful website via search engine algorithms to duplicate the results that they would see with a second product. So if they're currently selling X widget and they generate this number of traffic, this number of leads, this number of sales, this number of repeat sales, what you're going to do is repeat that with a second product. You say, look, we'll take that off your hands. We'll actually take the process off your hands. If you're currently doing this with trainers and you want to do it with fishing gear, we'll help you repeat that process by looking at what works and replicating it, so you don't have to do that. It might be that you think, well, I want to work with people who are already generating a lot of content, but they're just not ranking or finding the right number of leads. And so you think, well, the market therefore is, and I hate the term service-based businesses, and we're going to get more specific about that. Maybe your background is financial services, and you think, I want to work with people who help generate wealth. So wealth-based consultants, wealth-based training and education consultants. The characteristics is they've already got a lot of content. Their biggest problem is they can't generate leads on autopilot. And the result they want is more leads. So what you do is you help wealth-based consultants who have already got content, but it's not ranking, generate more leads. That's the niche. That's what you do. And their core question is going to be, how do I get more leads through my business? How do I get more leads? And your core function, whatever that might be, in this particular case, for this particular example, is probably going to be to optimize that content, as in to go into current content and make it the best that it could be. So it's actually current content is your core function. And then you know that you're going to do that, and you think, in terms of generating new content, it's not our core function, it's not our speciality, we're not going to worry about that for the time being. All we're going to worry about is looking at current content, and we're going to create a process for making this content as good as it can be. So we work with keyword research, and we go back over stuff, we look at what's ranking, etc., etc. That's kind of how this framework works, and you might need to kind of go in and do this a few times, but I want you to think about your core niche, the core question, and the core function. The next part of the process is figuring out, well, your process, frankly. Over here, you've got your customer where they're starting, and over here, you've got your customer after working with you. They're happy, life's a rainbow, there's butterflies, everything is better. But over here, it's misery, it's doom and gloom. There we go. Your job is to help them get from here to here. Now, if we pick the example we had earlier, which was wealth-based consultants, who already have content, they're not able to generate any leads. Maybe their biggest problem right now is they have to go to networking events, and they're spending a lot of money on adverts and stuff, and it's just not converting. Their core question is how do I generate more leads for the business without me having to increase my workload specifically. You need to then think about, well, how am I going to get them from A to B? So you're literally going to pick out between 5 and 7 steps that they need to go on in order to reach this. These are not necessarily things that you're going to do. These are actually things that the customer needs to do. Your job is then, well, if you want this and you don't have the time to do this, we can do this for you. This is a big flip to the standard sales process, which is selling the future over here rather than the features of the process to get up to it. So the first mistake they make is something like, oh, we have to do an in-depth SEO frog, like run through, and then we're going to look at your H1 and H2 tags, then we're going to do a keyword like golden ratio review, and you're like, whoa, 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 that's like, I don't understand that. As the customer, I don't understand that. So what you need to do is you need to write it out in a process or a step-by-step kind of methodology that they could do. And now you might be thinking, well, they could just go away and do that themselves. Yeah, they could. A certain portion of your market will do. Your job is not to say, well, actually, I'm not going to tell you how to do this unless you buy from me. Your job is to say, here's the journey. By the way, it's a fuck ton of work, and if you want someone else to do it, we can do it for you. They already understand the process. They've already been sold on the process. Your job is to sell them faster and easier. So we sell the future, not the features. And in that case, it might be like, well, the first thing you need to do is to just see what's working. You know, like, what is ranking? Where are your current leads coming from? How does that work? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of keyword research. So we're going to find out, like, what are your customers searching for? What could you rank really, really well for? We're then going to say, well, what have we got already? So we're going to do a little bit of like a stock take. And the reason we have 5 to 7 is because it's just an easier number for us to get through. So if you come up with 6 or 5, that's absolutely fine. Try to keep it at 5 or 7. Anything over that, start stripping stuff out. These, you can see these are very broad categories. These are very broad terms. Keep it nice and simple. Just talk about it in the same way that I'm doing here. These nice, broad, high-level overviews. And if they want more, they just have to pay for you. That's all it is. If they want more depth, they can read your content. So anyway. What's working, look at some keywords, do a bit of a stock take. We then pick our best players. So we're going to look at our best kind of, you know, content or whatever. And where they're going to basically kind of rewrite it and optimize. And then we just measure. And if we can continue doing that, eventually you're going to get more and more over to this side. So you can absolutely, if you are a wealth-based consultancy and you already currently generate content and you want more leads, that's fine. I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing you need to do is what's working. Where do you currently generate leads from? Where do you currently get your traffic from? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when you go through that, that package there, that process, that's ultimately what you're selling. Because when you start to approach customers and you know that you want to work with more wealth-based businesses, you know you want to work with people who are already writing content, that's easy to find. You can find groups of these. You can find entire forums and threads and other businesses that service those types of customers and start partnering with them. That's the easy part. The next part is to then let them know that, hey, if you want to answer this question, this process here is how you do that. This is how you go along that process. This is a really easy way for you to do this. So I just want to work on one final piece here. If you have literally no idea on what you want to focus on or what you want to work on, I want you to try this one last exercise. This is also going to help with your niche a little bit. I want you to start over here, kind of similar to the last diagram we've done. A to B. In fact, let's make that Z. All the way to the end. I want you to write out every single thing that you do for the customer in order to help them if you were just doing SEO. So I want you to start with, there's brand analysis, for example. We would do consultation. We would do a bit of we would create a brief. We would measure first or do an audit. We do keyword research, going all the way through. You'd optimize current content, and then we'd do targeted creation all the way through, right? I want you to go all the way through and write as many things that you would do. And then the next piece, I want you to think about, well, first of all, what do you really love doing out of all of that? Maybe it's the consulting and the kind of strategy element. Maybe it's the keyword research you really like or you can do. So you want to pick things that that you absolutely love and things that you're really good at as well. I'm going to presume that if you've got it here, they add some value to the process. So therefore the problem is not, is it valuable? The question is, which one do we go after? And you might think, actually, the number one thing I love to do is keyword research, and I also love to do consulting. You go, fantastic. Who then would benefit? Who benefits from consulting and keyword research? Who would benefit from that? You might think, well, everyone. I need you to think harder than that. If you want to elevate yourself above the competition, and if you want to stand out above the competition, you need to think harder than everyone. Would people so actually I'll suffice this even more. Who benefits the most? People who are already driving traffic to their site probably would benefit more from consulting and keyword research. People who have already got content would probably benefit the most. And then you get to think as well, who do I want to work with? I personally don't have any kind of connection with like hobby-based businesses. Just doesn't interest me for whatever reason. I'm not a huge fan of like racing. Like sports car, Formula One racing just doesn't interest me. So I wouldn't go after anything in that market. It's a huge market, and I'll assure you that there is an SEO opportunity for someone to go after the Formula One and Formula 2 and so on circuits. Sport kind of interests me, so health maybe. You think actually the health market overall interests me. Maybe you think actually I'm kind of more interested in money and investment, so it'd be the wealth side. Maybe you think the psychology of people, relationships, having better human lives, great, so it's the relationship side. Maybe there is a particular hobby that you absolutely love. I want you to think about who would benefit the most from working with you, like your areas that you love, as well as the parts of the process. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back then with the keyword research and the consulting, and I want you to do that kind of before and after, again, thinking about, well, how would I do this then? If I was just going to do keyword research to the point where I could give people keywords that they understood that they were going to use to create content. They currently create content. They know how to create content. They just need more direction. I want to do it specifically for the health market. Particularly, I want to work with businesses who have got like an influencer at the center. Health market's very easy for that. So they've got an influencer at the center. They've currently got products that they can sell. Again, a lot of businesses, SEO businesses, they want to work with startups and businesses that haven't got any customers and haven't got any sales. And like all of the fault and all of the blame, if it doesn't work out, will be placed on you. So I want you to think about who you want to work with, who benefits the most, and then take these two pieces and do that before and after. And again, 5 to 7 steps. And you might think, well, the initial consult is actually just to understand what are the aims, like what are the goals that you want to get. The next thing is you might think, okay, who's your target market? You might then think, well, what's currently most popular? What are you on your own site and your current site and your competition? Like what's popular? What are the seed keywords, or what's the niche? What's the statement? And then the content type, maybe. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go along. But you still need to be able to answer that niche question, function question, and this is going to help your market get from A to B. All of this is the benefits. You're then able to say, well, we're able to help you generate keywords that are going to generate you leads, and you're going to have more direction in your business. We're going to help you go after certain keywords and certain topics. It might be that you think, actually, we're really good at optimizing current content. And maybe that comes back, I think that's what we did kind of previously, is you decided we're actually really good at optimizing current content. So you need to have your current content. And that would be that other process that we went through, where you think what's popular, keyword research, go back and optimize stuff that we're working on already, have a process for that. That's what you're selling. Because you're selling, and remember, the easiest method to make a sale is to sell futures, not features. A lot of people are like, yeah, but I just don't know what I'm selling. What's the future that you're bringing? Tell me what it is. Tell me how my life is better in the future. Why would I smile in the future? How am I going to feel in the future? That imaginative and almost creative writing exercise of saying, in the future, after working with us, you have complete direction on where to go with your content. You're generating more leads, and you're also ranking for terms that people are searching for. Those are the benefits. That's the future that you're selling. Stop selling features and start selling futures. Guys, I hope that was useful as an absolute beginner's guide. If that was way too much, just let me know in the comments down below, because I'm happy to kind of go into less depth, more depth. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but let me know in the comments below. If it was useful as well, give me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, by all means, go ahead and hit subscribe, because I produce videos like this every week. My job is to help as many people sell a marketing project for like 25 grand. So I believe that you have a 25 grand solution here for your SEO services. How to sell copywriting for absolute beginners. If you are a complete beginner setting up your copywriting business, or if you're a copywriter who is just branching into running a new business, I'm going to show you how to sell your copywriting services for absolute beginners, even if you've never ever made a sale before. In this video, I want to talk to you about how to sell your copywriting services if you're an absolute beginner. When you start off selling copywriting services, you've probably come from maybe a technical background, or maybe you're starting up your business and you've had the idea to start selling copywriting and content creation. The problem then is you know how to do the work. It's how do you attract the clients so you can do more of that work. Lots of copywriters make the classic killer mistake of going to things like Upwork and Fiverr and putting their services on there. You can make that work. I don't recommend it to start with, because I think it's a method of scale rather than attracting cold leads. And it's also only going to attract people who are looking for like the cheapest option. Like I said, there is a way of making it work. I'm not going to talk about it on this video, but instead what I want you to do is think about packaging up your copywriting as a service and a product that makes sense to solve a specific problem. Going after Upwork and Fiverr, the reason it doesn't work is because it's too broad. Anytime you see a business that does work, especially when they're brand new to market, and if you are selling your copywriting services, what you want to do is be hyper specific. I know that sounds scary, because I'm immediately saying to you, ignore 99% of the other opportunities out there, but what you need to do is get hyper targeted about that 1% and ignore all the other marketplaces out there, which are really just fish markets, as we call them. It's just people going through them, looking for something kind of non-specific, whereas if you want to start making serious money with your copywriting services, you're going to have to be specific. If you're looking to define the perfect niche for your copywriting business, I've got a list of 49 free niche examples for funnel builders, for people who build marketing funnels. You can use the link below, or just head to sellyourservice.co.uk/49 niches and get a list of 49 niches sent straight to your inbox. But in the meantime, if we want to talk about selling copywriting services for absolute beginners, you need to be very specific about what you offer. Copywriting and content creation can be very broad, and people actually often ask you to do a lot of different things. But when you're starting out, what you need to do is get traction in one area. You don't win one marathon by starting 10 of them. You have to start it and see it through to the bitter end. And I think a lot of the time when we start out as a copywriting business, selling copy and content creation, it can feel a little bit like, I just need to take what comes in, beggars can't be choosers. That's actually not the case. What you need to do is the exact opposite of that. Become hyper specific about the type of customer that you want to go after, and the type of problem that you solve, and the type of copy and content that you create. Working on things like product launches or email campaigns or Facebook ads or squeeze pages is going to be way more profitable for you in the long run because you're able to offer a very specific service to a range of customers. It's going to be much easier for you to productize and systemize and create a process for what it is that you do and get really good at it when you focus on just one thing. For example, let's say that your passion is advertising creative. You are better off creating just Facebook advertising copy to give to customers and say, look, this is, how we work, and this is what I want to work with you with, and this is the stuff we've created, rather than trying to do a little bit of everything. It's entirely possible that after working with you on one small project, a customer might say to you, oh, could you also do squeeze pages and sales pages? That's fine, that's great. That's a really good way and a good method of finding kind of broader contracts with customers. But when you're starting out from scratch, you need to be hyper specific about what it is that you do. Even finding what we call as an intersection. So you might say, I'm just going to do Facebook ads for veterinary services, something like that, which is where you find the problem or the action, Facebook ads, and the particular type of market that you want to go after. It doesn't have to be an industry. I've talked about that. Remember, I've actually got that list of 49 different niches at sellyourservice.co.uk/49 niches. That actually gives you an idea of the types of intersections you can go after. For example, you could say we specialize in writing Facebook ads for product launches that have just come off Kickstarter, for example. That's what you're going to have to go after. And when you're really specific about it, it's going to be much easier for you to create your own website copy, create your own websites, create your own marketing campaigns, tell people what it is that you do. And yes, in the short term, you are going to face more rejection, but in the long run, what it's going to do is position you as an industry leader. There is a reason that I went after teaching sales to funnel builders, just sales. I do a little bit of funnel building, but I actually mainly focus on teaching funnel builders how to sell their services. That's the intersection I went after, sales training for funnel builders. And that's what you need to start thinking about is, what is the specific problem or actionable result, and who is the person who's going to benefit from that? When I first started selling copywriting and content creation, I used to get really flustered with objections. People would say things like, why would I hire you? We've hired copywriters before. And then I would start saying it's 12.5 grand for a sales letter. And they go, I'm not paying, I didn't even pay that for my website. I'm like, fine, that's great. What you need to do is become comfortable and okay with objections. You're going to hear all of these and more. Another classic one is, well, do you have any credentials or testimonials? You're going to hear all of these. My advice is pause, take a breath, and learn how to turn objections. I've got actually another video over in the corner here talking about how to turn objections. They don't go away. As you get bigger and as you become more competent at what you do, you're going to find that you still get objections all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the process. So become comfortable with the fact that you're going to hear objections. That doesn't show an indication of where your business is going. If anything, the more objections you're hearing, the better you are at your sales process. So don't get flustered by them. You're going to hear them now. You're going to hear them for the rest of your life. I've been selling for a long time, and I can assure you I hear the exact same objections that I heard when I first started compared to where I am now. So don't worry about it. Just take a breath, pause, and learn how to answer objections as well, and you'll find they're actually pretty easy to turn around, and in some cases even indicate that someone does want to buy from you. The last 2 points I want to focus on here are like hyper pragmatic. You need to have a very basic website with a consultation page. This is a place for you to be able to capture leads and sales without you having to actually be there. If you're good at copywriting, you should be spending the majority of your time trying to attract customers. The problem, of course, is when you're doing all of this, it becomes very difficult to constantly keep up with new sales and new customers. So that's why your copywriting website could only be a homepage. It doesn't have to be long and complex. Josh Garofalo, who I've interviewed in the past, who I'll actually link to down below, his website's a great example of this. It basically tells you who he doesn't work with. And then, like any other decent website, there's a place to get a free lead or a free consultation, which might be like a free 15-minute clarity session. I know in past videos I've said you shouldn't use those, but what you can do is use that as a lead capture. So if you're at a networking event and someone says, oh, I'd love to work with you, go, great, just head to website.com/consult or discovery, and we actually do a free 15-minute call. Just put in your email address and your phone number and your name, and that means that I can go ahead and have a conversation with you, and I can follow up with you later. And that means that your lead capture is being done by something else. It means that you're not having to do that manually. And the second one is get something like Calendly or Gravity Forms or a PayPal button to have a paid 2-hour discovery workshop. There's nothing worse than when you find a customer or find someone who does want to work with you and you could then go, I don't know how I would start this or what I should do. Straight away go in for a $500 or $1,000 discovery call, whatever price you want. I've got tons of other content about that if you want to figure out what you should charge for that. And you just say, yeah, just head to website.com/consult or strategy or whatever. And that's where you can find my details. Just put in your card information, we'll book a call and we can take it from there. Once you've got their information and they've paid for you, that means you're not having to faff around writing proposals or sending links or doing bank transfers. Make it as easy as possible and assume that people who you're talking to want to buy from you, and you want to remove that friction of buying and make it as easy as possible for someone to buy. So make sure you have a basic website with a couple of different consultation pages, a free one to capture leads and a paid one to capture paying customers as well. And the last piece of advice I'd give you is spend more time on discovery and qualification. What this means is you need to spend less time doing copywriting if you want to sell copywriting. I know that sounds completely counterintuitive. A colleague of mine, she used to do copywriting and she would do about £300 worth for some copy. It was basically like sales letters. That's what she specialized in. She did it on websites, a little bit of blog writing, but mainly sales letters. And she charged 300 quid for those sales letters and blogs. She had roughly 10 customers last year, which brought her in around 3 grand, which is not enough to live on. That's crazy low. I told her that she needs to charge 6 grand for one sales letter, which is obviously a huge increase. That's a 20x increase in revenue. And of course, initially she rejected that. But if she only did one of those, she would double her revenue. She would also work with fewer customers, 1/10 of the customers, doing one customer at 6 grand. And if she spends more time qualifying the customer, talking with the customer, having conversations with them and networking, she'll actually spend more time doing less work and then less time doing the actual work that she needs to do. Charging for consultation, charging for discovery, making sure that you're deep diving into the customer's business, asking them what their goals are, qualifying people out. If you spend more time qualifying people out and not just going after everyone, it actually ends up working out more profitable for you to work with fewer customers and charging more money for them. It is hard work and it does require a leap of faith, and when you get started, no one's going to want to have conversations with you, but the more time you spend qualifying and doing discovery calls, paid discovery calls, and to some extent the free kind of super quick discovery calls as well, but spend less time actually doing the copywriting, increase your prices and allow yourself to spend more time understanding the types of customers you want to work with, having those one-on-one conversations. And the funny thing is, the deeper the relationship you build with one of those customers, the more likely they are to pay more money in the long run. In this video, I'm going to talk you through how to sell your copywriting services to a customer that already has a website. So if you're looking to sell your copywriting services, or if you're looking to increase the number of clients that you can work with, I'm going to share with you my tactics on attracting clients who have already got websites and already got content and copy, and how you can position your copywriting services to them even if they've already got copy and content on their website. The problem that we're talking about today is basically finding and attracting customers for your copywriting services. It's a funny one, copywriting, because I think a lot of people immediately believe that it's only sold to people who don't have copy. But in this particular video, I want to talk to you about how to sell your copywriting services to businesses that already have a website. A lot of funnel builders make the mistake of feeling that if someone already has a marketing website and a funnel and a system and copywriting, that they don't need more copywriting and that they don't need better copywriting. And this is a huge misconception. In my opinion, if someone has a website and if a business has a website, this is actually one of the things you should be looking for to go after, because I'll guarantee you, just because they've got a site doesn't mean that they've got everything dialed in and that they know what they're doing with everything. But what it does show you is that they've got commitment, they've got a bit of a track record. So if anything, I think that having a current website and having current copy and content is a bit of a qualifier that you should be looking for. If you're looking for a marketing funnel proposal template, remember I've actually got a template that you can download for free down in the link below, or you can head to www.sellyourservice.co.uk/ I think it's proposal, there we go, and you can download the marketing funnel proposal template that I use. It's one won something like $93 million worth of business for different funnel builders across the world, which is just insane to me. So if you want a funnel template to write proposals, go ahead and access that. It's just a Google Doc. But in the meantime, let's talk about how to sell copywriting services to your customers, even if they already have a website. So the first thing to understand is you need to target people who could use your help. Selling services from scratch is about putting in the groundwork. I think if you want more clients, you have to be willing to know what clients you want to go after. And if you come across websites that you think could use your help, that's a really easy way to start the process. I'm going to tell you a story later about how I won a huge sales letter and copywriting contract when I was running my agency. And it basically follows this process. And I knew I wanted to help people sell digital products. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I was good at. That's what I was comfortable with. So I knew that I was going to target people who could really use my help. I made a list of all the different businesses that I wanted to work with. I just spent a few days on Google and YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and looked at all the different types of businesses and entrepreneurs and business owners that I thought, yeah, this guy could use my help. This woman could use my help. I'd really love to work with this type of person. And I physically had a hit list, basically, of the type of people that I wanted to work with. And when I understood the literal people that I wanted to work with, that kind of steered me towards a bit of an industry and a bit more of a niche. Don't make the mistake that thinking sales is about being good at talking, because it's not. The greatest salespeople in the world are stalkers, not talkers. When I reached out to these initial customers who had no idea who I was, that because I had done my research, because I had, in some cases, even bought their products, I understood the copywriting mistakes and problems that they were struggling with. Just because they had a sales letter or a sales page or a squeeze page or Facebook advertising, whatever, that doesn't mean that I didn't think I can help this person. I want to go after this person. And in some cases, I was going after digital products, in this case, who had no sales letter, no sales process. And I thought I could really add value to these guys. And because I had gone through their process and done the research, it was much easier for me to start pitching and presenting to them. Which brings me on to my second point. Make sure that you have a niche. What is the specific problem that you are addressing? Copywriting can be very broad, but you need to be specific. If you just approach businesses and say, hey, I'd love to do some copywriting for you, I'd love to do some content creation for you, they're gonna, frankly, I'll tell you what happens, because I get this a lot now. I basically think, so you want me to do the hard work for you and tell you what you should be doing. You want me to think of work for you, and it's just exhausting to do that. My team don't do that. The people who I actually employ don't do that. You think that offering them variety and choice is a good idea, but it's not. You are better off reaching out to 100 people and saying, I want to change the headline on your squeeze pages that come through from Facebook ads because I think that I can increase conversions from 1% to 2%. Or I want to change your subject lines, or I want to write an entire sales letter for your initial products, or I want to start selling your smaller products or huge core offers or whatever for you using this sales letter. You need to approach it from a very specific standpoint and have a niche that you are working within. If you approach the market with too broad an offer, they're going to get confused and they're going to feel like they're having to do the hard work for you. The funny thing about having a niche as well is that the more specific you get to start with, you will broaden your opportunities afterwards. There's a saying in weightlifting, which you've got to get small before you get tall. So with certain gym movements, if you want to lift the bar up and put it over your head, sometimes you've got to shrink yourself real small first to be able to get under the bar and then push it up. And I want you to think about your niche in the same way. Sometimes you're going to have to approach your customers and prospects and cold leads with a really specific vision and problem that you're solving in mind. And then after they see those results and after they've started to work with you, begin to offer them not just more copywriting services, but more services in general. But you have to approach them from the standpoint of a niche first. Following on from that, have a process that you are selling. Don't just offer copywriting as a broad platform. If you're developing headlines and squeeze pages, develop headlines and squeeze pages. Customers will often try and move you around, and that's fine if they want to do that. I'll talk about that in another video, but what I want you to think about is, what is the specific process that you're offering? For example, I've got the 6A framework from the book 5 Figure Funnels, where I talk funnel builders through the 6A framework for landing your first $25,000 client. There's also the PPM sales letter method. So there's promise, problem, myth. That's a sales letter process. You want to have a specific process that you're offering to your clients and customers in order to separate yourself out from just another copywriter. When you begin to move towards standardization and productization, it shows that you're a professional, it shows that you know what you're doing, it shows that you've done this before, and it gives the customer confidence. So rather than just saying, hey, I'd love to do some copywriting work with you, what you want to do is approach them and say, look, I've identified that your calls to action could be stronger. I think you've done a fantastic job on the sales letter, but what I want to do is test some calls to action. So I've actually created some for you, and this is what I think we should test. Or if you're able to continue that research, and like I said, I bought customers' products, which is a fantastic way of identifying where the problems are within their funnels and their processes. So look, after you have someone opt in, you don't do anything with them. I've written a video sales letter script. It's a piece of copywriting, and it will sell a, small low ticket item to them immediately after opting in, which could basically pay for your costs of advertising or traffic acquisition. Point number 4, cold outreach with value and offer something for free. I cannot tell you how frustrating it is when I open up LinkedIn or my email or Facebook and I have an offer from someone saying, hey, I just saw your post, or I saw your website, I saw this, I'd love to get on a call and have a quick chat with you. As if I've just got loads of time hanging around. Yeah, I just love to get on calls with random people to try and get them to sell me something. The initial cold outreach, you are the underdog. I don't know you, I don't trust you, I've got no proof that you are who you say you are. To get on a call with you is me taking 100% of the risk. Instead, if you were to offer something so amazing that people would almost feel obliged to get back to you and actually offer them something of value, they are way more likely to get in touch. Yes, it's more effort to create it up front. It requires you to have a niche and a process and a specific problem, all the things we've talked about previously. But instead of, let's say you have, and I'll tell you how I did it immediately afterwards. Let's say that you have a list of customers that you want to work with. You reach out to them. 5 of them, you say, I'd love to offer some copywriting services for you. We do headlines specifically. Can we get on a quick call for 5 minutes? And to 5 of them, you say, I've rewritten all of your headlines for your blog posts. I think you should test these and I'd love to see it. Or something along those lines. And you offer them something. Or you say, look, I want to show you how to write a sales letter that sells 24 hours a day. That's right, showing them how you do something, some completely free training, enter your email address, that classic webinar lead magnet giveaway. Head over here, we'll show you how to do it. And then at the end of that, say to them, look, if that's a lot of information, we can get on a quick call, 15 minutes, and we can identify what your sales letter should look like. What you want to do is offer them something so incredibly valuable that they'll want to take it up. My advice is pick something that they can use immediately. Headlines, templates, sales letter templates, workflows, processes, maps, whatever. Something that they could basically put into action straight away is way more powerful than trying to get on a call. Your job at the cold call point is to qualify them and make sure that you're talking to the right person. You're not going to make a sale straight away, so stop trying to rush that. So if you want to reach out to these people, then go ahead and do that. This is how I landed one of the biggest copywriting contracts of my agency. I basically came across this guy on YouTube. I absolutely loved him, and I loved all his content, I loved all his copy, I loved everything he did, and I reached out. I said, look, I've bought your courses, I bought your content. For a while, I was like one of his #1 affiliates, and I said, I've rewritten the sales letter for you that I'm using, and I'd like you to have it for free. And this started a bit of a dialogue, and we went back and forth, worked on a few projects together. This is the advice that I would give to you. Write their squeeze page for them, write their content for them, write their sales page for them, and offer it to them completely, no strings attached, for free. Maybe in exchange for an email address. Say, hey, look, I've written this for you. I've written this, and I'd love for you to test it. You can have it. It's completely for free. Go ahead and do that. I've got colleagues of mine who build entire funnels for people. So that 3-step kind of classic lead magnet, sales letter, upsell, that type of funnel. They build that for the customer for free and then just give it to them and say, look, I'll even upload this and install it for you, because that's the inroad. The value doesn't come from those initial small sales. It comes from the longer term relationship that you build with someone. And if you're a copywriter of genuine skill, then what you need to do is offer them something that's so crazy valuable that they feel obliged to get back to you. So offer them that content and that copy, build that relationship, show that you're willing to put the work in up front. And if you've done everything previously, such as target people who could use your help, make sure that you have a niche, follow a process, don't try and sell on the cold outreach and give value, then what you're going to find is that you're going to find clients for your copywriting business who already have websites, and you are testing those websites for them.